G'day guys and welcome to BST Weekly AFL Edition Episode 3. I'm Tim Blacker, this is Joey Kane. Joey, from the last 2 weeks when we've been going through pre-season, we've had really good feedback, we've had a lot of views, which we both thank you for.
Absolutely.
But this week we've got 4 more. Who have we got this week?
Well, this week we're going to touch on the Roos, the Blues, the Tigers and the Hawks over the week. But how have you been, Tim?
Been quite well, Joe. Yes, it hasn't been too bad. But what about yourself?
I'm really good. Bit of a late night last night. Sat up watching Survivor, the end of the final finale Survivor. I think the right woman won in Denise, but we'll leave that for another show, I think.
We will. I personally didn't see it. I'm pretty happy I didn't either. But look, if you're the show's lone survivor, still a surviving fan, which I think you could be. That's a credit to you. But
very loyal fan base, the Survivor nuts out there.
It's pretty poor. But we move on to something of more interest, and that's footy. Everyone loves their footy. Footy is just, what is it? It's about 16, 17 days away to the NAB Cup, but let's get straight into the Kangaroos first.
That's right. Not too long to go, and the Roos will be looking to really solidify themselves this year. They've been through the rebuilding phase for a few years now, I think, and coming into fruition. Last year they finished in 8th, obviously, so they made the finals. They had a record of 14 wins and 8 losses, but they were eliminated in the elimination final against West Coast by, I think it was 94 points, 66 to 162. So,
yeah, well, it was shocking, wasn't it? It was really bad to watch. I think North fans would be incredibly disappointed. I'm not sure if they expected to beat West Coast over there. I hope they didn't, because that was unlikely that they would.
But it was a big loss.
But yeah, saying that, it's a terrible loss. Embarrassing, I think, is the main word. And on what was a promising season, what were they? 14 and 8.
14 and 8.
Yeah, which is pretty good. You know, it's pretty good. They had really good wins towards the end of the year as well against Collingwood and the like that as well. So look, to finish like that was poor, but this year it's all about kicking on and pushing further up the ladder.
That's right. They have had a few list changes. They've had a few outs, which we'll have a look at. But the notable ones for mine, I suppose, Campbell, Garlett and Ben Warren has been delisted. Yeah,
well, Matty Campbell, it doesn't overly surprise me, that one. I didn't think he could. That was my opinion. Yeah, I don't think he could cut it at AFL level. It didn't kick enough goals for mine and just wasn't dangerous enough for long enough periods of the game. Ben Warren's another one. There were patches in his career at North where you thought, hey, this guy can play. He played a few really, really good games for them, the blonde bombshell himself. But and he played really good footy back at Werribee as well.
He did.
So, look, it's a bit of a harsh one, but as we say, and as we've said with all the teams so far, there's got to be a stage where your list has to turn over and someone's drop off.
That's right. They've had a few ins, though, to offset those. Let's have a look. They've had the main ones there. At pick number 15, Taylor Garner. He could be a real player to watch out for, I think.
Yeah. Well, of course, only a young boy, but their first pick. A club's always going to pick someone they obviously view very highly with their first choice. And look, they've got big raps on him down there, and look, hopefully he comes through quite well.
And Majak Daw has been promoted off the rookie list. I watched a lot of him in the VFL last year when he was playing, and even in the grand final. He really, for mine, looks to be. I reckon he'll come on this year, and I reckon he'll have a major impact at AFL level. I'm making the call now.
Yeah.
I really think he's developed to the point where he will become a star in the future in the AFL.
Yeah, well, there's obviously coming into the league without really a football background. It's going to take time to adjust and become accustomed to the way things are done. But look, you only have to see by looking at him. He's built like an absolute house.
He's He's an athletic freak, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a cut-shaped body. He could push someone out of the way as easily as anything. So, yeah, if they tweak just a few things and his skills get up to, they further improve, then, look out.
Couldn't agree more. The trade period, they've had a couple of trades. Obviously, the main ones, Gisbert's has come in from the D's, but they've lost a few. They've lost McIntosh, obviously gone to the Cats.
Yeah.
Aaron Edwards has gone to the Tigers, and Cameron Pedersen has gone to the D's as well. Which, for mine, obviously he didn't have games last year. I think there may have been a bit of a rift between the coach and himself. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not overly versed in the situation there, but Cameron Pedersen, for mine, could and can play. So that's a bit of a loss.
Well, he's a good size, and I mean, you never want to lose a player of that size that sort of dual position can play sort of anywhere, really, without any troubles at all. So, look, he's going to be a loss. McIntosh, it's tough to lose a good player like that, but I mean, when you've got two quality ruckmen on your list, the way footy's played these days, you can't fit him in. It's not like the old times when you played two frontline ruckmen, and all that sort of stuff. So, look, I think it's sort of a win in both cases. I mean, it frees up Goldstein more, takes pressure off him, I suppose, with the fact that if McIntosh is fit, then he's going to be breathing down his neck. But that may go the other way, and his performances may drop. So that'll be interesting to see. But and in terms of McIntosh, I think for him that's a great move as well. So I mean, I'm sure North fans will wish him well as well. I mean, he was a good player for them.
Yeah, he's a pretty good servant to the club, I think.
Yeah, I think. But and just the other one you mentioned there, Jordan Gisbert's as well, who's come in from the D's. I think that's a really, really good move for them. Can win a hard ball and will just help strengthen and solidify that midfield of theirs, which is coming along.
Well, I don't think, as we've said before, I don't think clubs go after players if they're not going to play them.
Yeah.
So I think he'll get games at North and an opportunity to really prove himself there. Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, there's still a club that are trying to establish themselves, North Melbourne. I mean, they're in the first stages of doing that, but it's a great opportunity for Gisbert's to come to the club and, as I said, establish himself as part of that best 22.
And obviously everyone says that their pre-season was fantastic, but the Roos seem to be flying at this stage as we have a look. But they really need to... They finished 8th. They are rebuilding. They are improving. They've added a few to their list, but they've lost a couple of serious outs as well. Where do you see them finishing this year?
They're a really, really tough team to sort of put a finger on, for mine. They are hard to gauge because you look at their list and they've got a lot of guys who aren't household names anymore. And they're one of the teams, they don't get a stack of games on a free-to-air TV and all that sort of thing.
Well, I got a few more Friday night games.
Yeah, got a few more, which is great for them, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, over the past years, that lack of exposure on free-to-air TV has meant a lot of guys have slipped under the cracks, and when we get our best 22 up later, you'll see some of these guys who are good players, but they just don't get the recognition they probably deserve. But in all of that, I've got them sort of... Well, they'll be pushing for a lower spot in the A.
Yep.
I can't see them going any higher. There's too many other good sides who are a bit more developed than them at the minute.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Well, there are so many good sides. I mean, for mine, it goes down to probably 11. Who are really strong competitors for a top 8 spot. And, I've got them sort of 8, 9, 10. It's really hard to put a finger on, as I said. And, I know it's not a great solidifying answer for the Roos fans, but I can't put them anywhere else other than those 3 spots. What about you?
No, I'm the same. Obviously, there's so many good sides, but they did finish in the finals, so... They may just sneak in again. They slip under so many teams' radars, and if they can get a couple of wins against the real big boys, if if they can knock off a Collingwood, West Coast, or Hawthorn along the way, I think one or two of those wins may even push them up into the 8.
Well,
that'll be the key though. They need to get a couple of really, really solid wins, I think, because they will beat the teams below them.
Yeah. Well, they will, and that's been the knock on them for a long time as well. The fact that they play outstanding football against the lower echelon teams, the middle of the road, and then when it comes to the top 4, you see them really struggle. And I mean, we saw that in the elimination final, unfortunately. I know West Coast weren't top 4, but 5th is pretty close to 4th anyway, so we'll just take it as that. But if they want to become serious, they need to come out and they need to beat these top 4 sides, as you said. And I remember they had a great win against Geelong last year early on, and everyone said, whoa, hold on a minute, this is it. They have turned the corner. And then I can't remember who it was, but the next week they backed it up and got thumped. So it's all about consistency, and if they can get that, then they'll find themselves up the ladder.
Couldn't agree more. One more thing before we move on to their 22.
Yeah.
As we said, they haven't played a lot of primetime games, and maybe that attributes to their lack of a so-called superstar across the league. But maybe they actually don't have one on their ranks. Here, I'm going to put it to you now.
Yeah.
Could Majak Daw be their next superstar? I know that sounds stupid, especially considering where he's come from and how he's spent a year in the VFL.
Yeah, and hasn't played a game.
Yeah. But is it possible that he's the next guy?
Well, yeah, as stupid as it sounds, I think it is possible. Because he's got the size, and for the first time in his career, he's got the elevation, and they wouldn't do that unless they think he's ready to go. Yep. They would have just kept him on the rookie list for another year. But look, I think he can. From what I've seen, he's so agile for a big guy. Can take a good mark, and there's no reason why he can't, put it that way.
When he gets into beast mode, he is just unstoppable. At VFL level, I saw last year. If that could translate into any type of AFL success, he will tear this league apart.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and when he goes forward as well, he won't get the first first defender either, because Big Drew will be down there, obviously. So, I mean, he's in a good spot, put it that way.
Well, he can sneak into the 3rd or maybe 4th defender, obviously with Tarrant and Hanson, but that's a good little segue into what we think is their best 22, BST Weekly's best 22 for the Roos. We'll start off. We'll start from the back line, and we'll make our way down to the forward line. From the full back line, Farito, Thompson is a mainstay at fullback, and McMahon in the other back pocket. Yeah,
well, Spud Farito. Look, I've liked him for a long time, and all the North fans like him as well. I mean, he goes out there week in, week out, and does a job. Scotty Thompson, the same, has developed into a really good one-on-one defender. There were a few questions on that early on, but now he's become really, really good. And his discipline, and sometimes he has a little brain fade here and there. But I mean, that's what you like. He's that sort of defender, bash and crash, and that's what they need down there. And Scotty McMahon as well gives them some good drive from the back as well.
Well, speaking of drive, the half-back line, Atley, Grimer at centre half-back, and McMillan on the other half-back flank.
Well, Grimer there, really good size lad as well. Good pillar to have at centre half-back. And look, he'll be good for them this year. I've got no doubt about that. And you know a bit about the two boys on the flank there.
Yeah, well, I think they're positions that North.
They're so important these days.
Well, they are. Football. They are. I think the halfback flanks and maybe even the wings are probably the most underrated, but probably the most important positions on an AFL ground. And Atley and McMillan, yes, they've been around, but. That'd be my question mark on North for the year.
Yeah,
I think if those guys can develop into A grade players, which they aren't at the moment, they're not. So if they can develop into A grade players over time, then they'll be in good stead going forward. But as we said, the wings, Bastanak, another young boy there, Gibson on the other wing, and we've got Wells in the middle.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bastanak had a great year. and so has played some really good games for them and will come on, continue to come on. So, I mean, no doubting there. Sam Gibson was really good out of the VFL last year, mature age recruit, and everything. Look, he'll continue to keep on. And Daniel Wells there, look, he's a bit frustrating, isn't he? But when he's on, he's on. But it's just about him having luck with his body, really.
I think that the Roos need to play him in the guts, 22 games. It's obviously they've been waiting for him to hit his potential. I think we've got it. I think we've seen what we're going to see with Daniel Wells. I don't think there's anything's going to come more for him. But I don't think it's that. I still think he's a very good AFL player.
Can his body hold up to it though?
Well, I think that's what I'm saying. I think they have to run the risk. And
do they need to?
They can't mollycoddle him for his body anymore or into the future.
So if you're watching last week, guys, we spoke a bit about Sandilands in this sense from Freo as well. Do you think they need to adapt a Sandilands? Well, what we think Freo should do with Sandilands, and so you don't think they should nurture him through it?
Well, no, I
look after him.
I actually think the opposite of that. I think throw caution to the wind with him because it's not like they're bereft of other midfielders.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for Daniel Wells to step up and you know and play 22 games in the midfield this year.
Well, he's been around long enough.
He has.
I agree with that. Yeah. So this the half forward line. Absolutely love Sam Wright there. I think he's a great size and he sneaks in behind defences. Given it, he is quite a tall lad, and but he's nice and agile, good kick for goal. And look, he'll kick about 25-ish sort of goals this year, which is perfect. It's exactly the role he should be playing. Tarrant there at centre half forward, and Zeeble on another flank.
That's right. Zeeble's a real talent, I think. I really rate Jackie Zeeble, and he'll be back this year, ready and raring to go, and I think he'll put his stamp on this team this year.
Yeah.
But the forward line, Lockie Hansen, Drew Petrie, and Lindsay Thomas, that's pretty dangerous.
Well, it is. I mean, Drew Petrie, Lockie Hansen was good last year. Great last year. Finally stood up and, showed us why he was pick 3 all those years ago. But Lindsay Thomas as well frustrates crowds with his goal kicking and such. But look, he gets shots at goal every week, and that's all you can ask for. Some days he's going to be on, some days he's going to be off, but you take that from a forward pocket. He's an opportunist and he gets the job done. But Drew Petrie's the one. He became an A-grader for me last year. For years he's been this solid player without being a star, and last year, it's not an outrageous call or anything, but last year he took a giant step and became a star for me. Yep,
I agree 100%. We move on to the followers. Goldstein the ruck, Swallow, who, for mine, and we talk about guys taking that next step, Andrew Swallow is one of the premier midfielders in the league now.
Absolutely quality and a great leader as well.
He really is.
Yeah, fantastic leader. And look, he'll lead this club for multiple years to come and will do a very outstanding job.
And his mate next to him, Brent Harvey, we've got him in the midfield there. Obviously won't spend the whole year there, but bits and pieces throughout the year in the midfield when they need it the most.
Yeah, well remember, just if you're questioning that, he will miss the start of the year with suspension as well. But don't jump on us there, because remember, this is our best 22 if everyone was sort of available there. And I mean, Harvey will be straight back in, and when he does, given that rest, we think he'll be in the midfield when he comes back.
Well, I guess on a bit of a tangent, I guess for our best 22, this is start of the last quarter in the grand final, all things being equal. This is where you'd want all these guys playing.
Yeah, exactly.
On the bench, Cunnington, Harper and Adams. Patch Adams obviously continuing on amazingly from a really good year last year, and I think still one of those really underrated guys. But just moving on to the sub, we've got Liam Anthony and the emergencies, Jacobs, Delaney and Curry as well. So all in all, Tim, the 22, pretty solid, I think.
Pretty solid. I think it's all about now, as we've said, consistency and making sure they win the games, not only that they should, and they've got to start taking more games off the Hawthorns and the likes of that. I know it's it's very easily said, but if they want to get serious, they've got to start doing it.
Oh, it's an absolute must, and they can't just keep, as you said, they can't just keep beating on the smaller, the clubs that are below them on the ladder. You need to get those wins, but yeah. But I think they will. I think they'll take a few games off the big boys this year, and they'll be around about 8th again. But if they can get some more games into these kids, and if they can get a personal favourite of mine, Majak Dor up and running, and get him a few senior games, then they'll be in pretty good stead for the future, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it'll be very interesting to watch. But with that, we'll flip straight over to Carlton. Now, Carlton, of course, the off-season has been full of the Mick Moldhouse talk, and why wouldn't it? Outstanding coach. He's done it at Footscray back in the day, West Coast, Collingwood, and now let's see if he can continue his good work at the Blues, which I think he will. But just a bit on last year. Finished 10th, obviously, not where they thought they'd end up at the start of the year. Definitely not. 11 wins, 11 losses, so they split the year. They did have injuries throughout. That's no excuse, though. But, miss Mark Murphy for a large chunk and Jared Wade as well. And, all things being equal, as you'll see with our best 22, they've got a great side on paper and could really be something this year.
Well, they have got a great side, and that's why last year was so disappointing. Obviously, they've been working out the one final, the game against Brisbane and those games. But this year, they have to finish top 6 minimum.
It has to be. Has to be. Their list is too good not to. And if they, I don't know what will happen if they don't.
Nothing. They got the coach.
Yeah. But
list overhaul.
List will be seriously looked at, because personally I can't see anything wrong with it.
Neither can I
at the minute. But
one whole lot. We get to that later.
Yeah. We'll just get up the national draft stuff, the work they did there. Just not too active, but just one I want to talk about. Pick 11, their first pick, Troy Menzel there. They picked him up from Central Districts.
Yeah, pick 11 is nothing to be sneezed at, and probably better than they'd be hoping for or they'd been planning on at the start of the season. So they'd be pretty happy to get that pick 11. But you think he's a really, really good pickup for them?
Look, they've got really high hopes. Absolute goal sneak, and can kick goals, and plenty of them, as he proved in the youth carnivals and all that sort of stuff. But look, they took a risk on him with his injured knees. Talk was he was a top 2 player, and obviously slipped through because clubs aren't as confident in his knees as Carlton were. But look, I think they've made a terrific decision, and it'll be great for them. Just 2 other ones there as well. They've used pick 89 on Levi Casbolt to upgrade him, and also 102 on Zach Tui, again to upgrade him. What do you think about Zach Tui? He played 19 games last year.
Yeah, well, definitely deserves to be on the senior list.
Yeah.
He's shown that he can match it at this level, I think. And
he came on, didn't he?
He
I
did.
had my doubts. I won't lie about that. But look, he played some fantastic games last year, and just provides a contest.
Which is what Carlton's all about, and certainly will be all about under Mick.
And what they need to do more of,
Yeah.
for me. I'm not saying they're a soft side or anything by any means, but I think if they want to improve more, they've just got to continue developing their game in the hard balls, all over the ground, not just in the middle. That relays to forward pressure, which is pretty good already with Betts and Garlett and all that, and also in the back line, and just everywhere really. And really the best teams are the ones that win the hard ball at the end of the day. Hawthorn and Sydney in last year's grand final, 2 of the best.
Couldn't agree more.
Just onto the rookie draft now. Nothing really of big note there, apart from the fact that they've picked up, reselected Andrew Collins with pick 23. Of course, came over from Richmond. Well, I think he had a few little problems last year and stuff, but I think he's a good player. What do you think?
Yeah, so do I. I don't know that there's too much to be said about him, but I think he'll be all right for him.
Yeah, he's just that sort of half forward that can that can create something out of nothing. And look, he's a good depth option there for them still. We'll just swing to the outs now as well. Look, a few there, but so Paul Bauer and Rowan Kerr delisted. I know you were quite big on the Paul Bauer one.
Well, probably not in the mix at Carlton anymore, but for a team like a Gold Coast or a team, well, Gold Coast for mine in particular, should have looked at him probably, but they've picked up another couple of other defenders. But Paul Bauer, a little bit stiff, but I think their backline is really, really solid now, and he's a long way down the depth chart, so not too surprised with that. But
well, he did have his chance.
He did.
Fairness, and when he was in, he was a bit of a scapegoat amongst the crowd. And I mean, fair enough too. He made some horrible blues, but pardon the pun with blues. But yeah, he had his chance, and it's unfortunate for him. But also there, Jordan Russell, same sort of thing, really.
Yep.
Played really good a few years ago, and then his performances have sort of declined over time, and he's found his way to Collingwood, and they got a late draft pick back, which I think they used to upgrade Casbolt or something. So look, really a win-win there for both player and club. Russell gave some good service and stuff like that.
Well, for mine, I've said it before and I'll say it again, he reminds me of a deer in headlights. He panicked too much under the heat of certain situations, and for mine, that's the reason he's out the door. But another one, Brett Thornton as well, who's gone. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, he's just a swing man, really, isn't he? I mean, he never... Back in the day, he was, under Pagan and all that sort of thing. He was full back in an abysmal team, let's be honest, and the poor bloke put up with a lot, and I mean, I really hope Carlton fans still look up to him with good things, sort of thing, because he gave a lot of good service there, and he tried.
Seemed like he loved the club.
Yeah, he tried week in, week out, and look, he was fantastic for them, really. Played some good games last year as well, so look, I've got no doubt now that he's ended up at GWS that he'll do good things for them as well.
Good culture, not the worst clubman to have around a club.
No, not at all. Yeah, well, just while we get... we'll move on to some of their pre-season stuff, Joey. And while we've got some footage running over the top here, we'll just have a little discussion. What do you think about their full forward spot? Because ever since Fev has sort of gone, for mine, they've really missed that a key forward. They've had forwards there, but not an out-and-out key forward. Of course, Wade hasn't been able to get on the park a lot of the time, but...
Well, that's the glaring area of weakness for mine that I touched on earlier. Obviously, Wade's injury prone, and we know that, but outside of him, Carlton's really struggled to find someone. Henderson's been tried there.
Yeah.
Thornton was even tried there. They just haven't been able to land that... And it's not easy to do, mind you.
Yeah.
Key forwards don't grow on trees.
No.
We know that. But for mine, Levi Casbolt, it could be a long-term option. I was really surprised that Mick didn't end up... Well, not that Travis Cloke was necessarily going to leave, but that Travis Cloke-Carlton marriage would be one made in heaven. That would have been the perfect fit for Carlton, and almost for mine would have put them over the edge to be absolute out-and-out flag contenders.
Well, yeah, there's no doubting that. I mean, Travis Cloke is a great player, and if you were to look at the Carlton list, which we'll get up a bit later, our best 22, of course, it's still a hole, I suppose you'd say. And I mean, we have got Casbolt there at full forward, and we think he'll be all right too. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. It's just the third sort of tall option again, which we'll touch on. Not entirely satisfied with it, are we?
No, well, Hansen obviously pushed forward when he played as well.
Yeah.
But and he did okay, I thought, in that role.
He wasn't bad, yeah.
But it's not I don't see it as a long-term thing, really.
It's sort of a quick fix, isn't it? Yeah,
it
but different game style this year, though. It will be under Mick. Who knows which way they're going to go. But for me... We'll touch on it when we go over the team, but for me, I think he could adopt more of a Collingwood 2010 premises
round the boundary
approach. Round the boundary, and then I reckon the 3-pronged forward line.
Yep.
With Cloak, similar to Cloak, Lee Brown, and Dawes at Collingwood. But we'll get to that. But where do you see the Blues this year?
Well, seriously, they have the list, and we're gonna keep alluding to the 22. But when you see it, it is strong. Yeah. It is a rock solid 22, and they have the list, and they've been thereabouts now for a couple of years. Obviously, last year they weren't, but as we know, a couple of injuries and not the best year.
And a lot of off-field stuff as well.
Yeah.
Brett Ratton, of course, had this shadow all year. Talk of Mick Moldhouse all year. I think everyone knew it was going to happen. But just for that to be hanging over doesn't really put Brett Ratton in the greatest position to coach week in, week out. But look, he did what he could. But back to how you thought.
You've got to be comfortable. I think to mount a serious premiership assault, you've got to be comfortable in your surroundings. You've got to know, everyone's got to know their roles.
Yeah.
And everyone's got to be very familiar with each other. Well, the players now, they've been there for... You guys like your Mitch Robinson, who are definite 22 starters now.
Yeah.
These guys have been there for a few years now, and they've experienced AFL, they've got the games under their belt, and they know their players around them. Yeah. So with Mick Moldhouse, who gives them definitive roles, who I've no doubt that he'll be far more structured than Brett Ratton. Not to say Brett Ratton's that much worse of a coach, but they'll have their roles and structures. They'll be familiar with their surroundings, and I think without the pressure, because that's gone now, I think they'll be comfortable. And this year, I see them. They're in my top 4, and from there, who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got them in 4th.
Yep.
As well. I think, as we said before, this is it. This is the year we'll finally see the Carlton that...
it's bust. It's do or die this year, isn't it?
Well,
really?
Yeah, as we touched on... Yeah, we did say it before. There is no excuse this year.
Yeah.
They've got the coach. They've got the setup they want. Everything's in order in terms of lists and everything like that. Just apart from that one minor little... inkling there in the forward line that we think. But other than that, they've kicked enough goals and big enough scores in the past. So
that's right.
It's not going to matter a huge
Well, their
deal.
midfielders do kick goals as well, which helps.
Yeah, so as I said, 4th for me.
Yep.
And then in the finals, they'll at least get to a prelim for mine.
Well, if I'm hard pressed, I'd have them top 2. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I have them 2nd.
Well, yeah. Well, I definitely wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah.
At all. But I mean, we'll now swing to this best 22, Joey. Of course, our best 22, which we think will get them into this top 4 spot, and we'll just get it up now. And of course, the full back line here, Jeremy Laidler really played some good games last year until he got injured, and I think personally, he was really good for them. Jamison there, he's a great player, and we've got Dennis Armfield in the back pocket there. Tell the people why.
Well, obviously Armfield, it's such a tough 22 to get into the midfield, but I think Armfield could be well suited to that backline spot. His game is he's rugged, he's hard at it, which is what Carlton need in a small. He'll take the small sort of forwards, and he can really have an impact off the backline. Oh
yeah, for sure. I mean. He's a good swingman. He can go forward as well. But we see him in that back line. He's real quick, explosive pace, and can take those small forwards. I'd love to see him, the ideal player for him to go and be a Rioli for mine. Yep. Can keep up with him, that sort of thing. But yeah, look, that's a pretty solid back line for me.
At Jamison, if he can be fit, he's really underrated still. He's he's a top 10. That's not saying anything spectacular, but he is a top 10 fullback in the league. Oh,
for sure, yeah. It's just about getting his body right, which is what we say about so many people. But the half-back line there, we've got Gibbs on a half-back flank. A lot of people arc up at that, I'm sure. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing him go into the midfield, but for me, his kicking skills is so effective coming out of that back 50, which is why we've got him there.
I don't see. I'm not 100% in the Gibbs to the midfield with everybody else. I like him off a half-back flank for those reasons you just mentioned. super efficient and can really pierce and damage sides.
Well, he's so polished.
Exactly.
So polished. So that's why we've got him there. Lockie Henderson, centre half back, really came on last year. Again, he was one of those players that, you know, when he was traded in that Favola deal, people raised their eyebrows and said, you know, who? You know, if you know, because in fair enough, a lot of people didn't know a lot of things about the Brisbane Lions and their young guys. But look, he was fantastic last year.
He was. No flies on him this year. I'm sure about that.
Oh, definitely.
And Scotland as well, who's a stalwart of the club and just continuing on his great career on the halfback flank.
Ultimate professional. Of course, we'll miss the first game or so with that off-field incident he had. But you know, once he comes back, he'll slot straight back in. Centre line is one which I love here, Joey. Cade Simpson, absolute dynamo on a wing there.
Yep.
Beautiful kick. Has really improved the defensive side of his game. At one stage, he was pretty ordinary there. I think everyone will agree with that. But he's really developed on that last couple of years. Has been named.
Oh, I think so. I think it will be.
Yeah, well, he'll definitely be in the midst for it. You know, either way, he's turned into a great leader, as I said, and he's a really good player for them. Mark Murphy, not much else needs to be said. Superstar there, and Carrazzo as well.
Used to be, well, the opposition fans would say Italian for the turnover king, but he has absolutely rectified his kicking issues, I feel.
Yeah.
And now he's got a pretty rock-solid disposal, and those clangers are few and far between now compared to what they used to be.
Well, the beauty of him, and I think everyone knows this, but he can shut a person down, but he can win 30-odd possessions himself,
exactly,
which is,
right.
You know, outstanding. It's the perfect tagger, the modern-day tagger, really, and look, he plays it to a T. Half forward line there.
We got Walker, obviously Luke Skywalker, lovely mark. But no, he's a really good player and can be really effective after. Now he's had a few more games after he came back from his injury last year. Wade, who he touched on, the cornerstone to their forward line, I feel.
Yeah. Oh, he's so agile for a big man. Lovely mark, beautiful kick for goal. If he goes down, which, you know, you have to say that he will on recent years.
You hope not.
Yeah, well, I hope not too, because he's so pivotal for them. But if he goes down, again, they've got this same dilemma that they've had in previous years without, you know, that's going to influence their big man stocks down forward. But he's a gun, and Jeffy Garlett there, little dynamic goal sneak's going to be brilliant too.
That's right. And another guy who he's...
His mate,
Eddie Betts, in the pocket there, just continuing on from. He's a really, really good forward, and you know, he's going to need to kick 40 odd, and again this year for mine.
Yeah. Oh, which is easy.
Yeah,
I reckon he will easy.
Yeah,
for sure. As we said, we've slipped Levi Casvold in there at full forward. A lot of love for this bloke down at the club. He's a big boy, and we reckon he'll develop beautifully this year. And we've started Hampson there for the sole reason that we reckon he'll just do that backup ruck work.
Yep.
Interchange with Cruiser there, and we reckon he'll get first crack to form that three-pronged attack, similar to the Collingwood one in 2010, as we mentioned.
And so he should, given his form last year. I really rated his efforts last year, and he took some great marks and kicked a few really important goals for them. So
yeah, no, well, he deserves that crack. Centre line, Cruiser will play in the ruck for the the vast majority, but will play down forward as well. Chris Judd, not much needs to be said. Brock McLean really actually turned it around last year.
Surprised me, because I think everyone thought he was absolutely gone.
Well, he is a turtle out there, but somehow he's so slow compared to other players, Joe. But he gets it done, and I can't fault him on that. He got it done last year.
Sensational last year. He really had such a good year, and all the plaudits in the world to him, because I didn't think it would happen. Nah,
not at all. Interchange bench there, Mitch Robinson. Pretty unlucky not to be on the field, to be honest, but I mean, he'd be on within the first couple of minutes anyway. Zach Tui, from his great year last year, gets on our subs bench, as well as Ed Kernow, who's a little bit of a downhill skier, but I think he fits into that team quite well. Played a lot of games last year as well. And that's the sub there.
Yeah, Dygan. He's pretty stiff not to be on the field, but I'm sure there'll be an injury, and he's the first cab off the rank to be on the field. That's for sure, because he's really important to them, and he's a really great leader as well.
Well, he's so versatile, and the reason we put him as the sub basically is because depending on what stage the game's at, he can come on either way.
Yep.
Which is what you want from a sub player. He won't be that every week, but I mean, if we had to run out week 1 or grand final, whatever, we'd have him as a sub. But and that's the emergencies there. There's quickly Robbie Warnock. Obviously if Cruiser went down or something, and this Aaron Joseph and David Ellard there as two small options.
That's right. But so the Blues, you have them as your 4, and I have them as probably top 2. You think?
I've got them at 4, yeah. But look, expect big things from them. Sorry, but as we said, we touched on it. But how big is the signing of Mick Malthouse to be the figurehead of this club now, the organiser, the coach? What is he? Because for mine, he brings a lot of professionalism off the field as well, which maybe they've been lacking a little bit.
Yeah, Mick Malthouse has it all covered, doesn't he? There's no stone that he'll leave unturned. He will look at what Carlton has got, and if he thinks it needs to be fixed, he'll go in and it'll be Mick's way. And that's probably... I think Mick has the right way. He goes the right way about it. He's proven. He's got a proven track record. Not the worst thing to happen. A fresh set of eyes who knows what he's doing will look all the way through the club, and he'll make some changes. I'm sure about that. But in terms of on-field play and structure and what he'll add, I think they were pretty unlucky to have a bad year last year, and I don't think he's the messiah. I think he'll come in and Carlton have a really great year, and I think a lot of credit will be given to Mick. Some should be, but I think it might have happened anyway, just a natural progression. And I'm not sure that Ratton would have had... let's put it this way. If Ratton was still coaching Carlton, I'd still tip him in the 4.
Well, with that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think a lot of people had him in their 4 last year. But look, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. But for mine, it's a great signing. It's a signal of intent.
Yep.
That this club seriously, as it should be, wants to be back as top dogs in the AFL.
I wouldn't be surprised if on the last day of September they're playing, if not winning it all.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
anything could happen. But look, we expect big things. And personally, round 2 against the Pies, I think everyone's taken either the night shift off work or they've already booked a date with the couch on that night and a few beers. But that is going to be some game.
There'll be some fireworks, won't there?
Yeah.
Speaking of another one of the Big 4, original Big 4 Victorian clubs, obviously not so much no more, the Tigers, Timothy. They finished 12th last year with a record of 10-11-1. They had the draw, obviously.
Yeah.
It's been a tough 30 years in Tigerland, hasn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, you've seen the numbers have dropped off over time, but I mean, now that Tiger Army is starting to build again. It's scary. They are a very vocal mob down there, and so they should be, because we're excited about the Richmond Tigers this year. As
they say, the roar is back. And, I mean, there's been optimism about them for, well, as far back as I can remember. Honestly, every pre-season, especially when Ben Cousins came.
Oh, that's the big one.
Yeah. They touted to, do some serious damage in September with Cousins. But
which was ridiculous.
I
put out there.
It didn't come to fruition,
no,
obviously. But they have transferred their list over a bit last year. We'll have a look at some of the outs. There are a couple of real interesting ones. Obviously, Brad Miller and Cal Moore have retired, which is a bit of a shame.
Shame for Kelvin Moore, because a lot of Richmond fans that I know absolutely love Kelvin Moore, but he just couldn't get on the park. And when he did play, he was a damn good player for a young guy. So look, unlucky to him. And this on the other one there, Brad Miller. he came in at a time when Richmond needed him for a specific role.
Yep.
And he played it. Unfortunately, that time is over, and I think Brad knew that. So look, but he was fantastic for Richmond for mine.
Same here. But a couple of delistings now we look at. Adam Marrick and Jaden Post. What are your thoughts there? Jaden Post just didn't cut it, did he?
Adam Marrick doesn't surprise me.
Yep.
You know, he wasn't a bad player at Melbourne, Adam Marrick, but in his latter stages there, he dropped off, and then at Richmond he never really got off the ground and was a bit of a whipping boy as well. But Jaden Post as well should be a damn good footballer for mine. Should be. He's got the body, he's got everything, but again, sometimes it just doesn't work out.
And it certainly didn't in this case. But they've offset that again with a couple of ins in probably the most important in they've got through the draft is pick number 9, Nick Verstuen. He is so highly rated.
Oh, yeah.
Hard at it, in and under, and can get the job done. Will have an impact this year for mine.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you know, I think the top 10 draft picks generally are good to go straight away. The only exception to that is if they're a centre-half forward, full forward type. Some might need a bit of time, but look, expect big things from him. I know, as I said, a couple of our Richmond mates, you know, have only been talking about this guy the whole pre-season.
But they've done really well, I think, in the rookieing as well, with Petted, Sam Lonigan, and Oren Stephenson's come in to provide a backup ruck.
Well, yeah.
He'll be their number 2.
Definitely. This signifies that they think they're ready.
Yep.
They're getting in these mature age recruits. And when a club does that, as I said, they think they're ready. They think they've got enough depth youth-wise. So, look, I think they are ready to make the next step. It's just a matter of whether they will or not. But, I mean, Ricky Pettard, there's my favourite out of that trio.
Yep.
Loved him at Melbourne. I think he's a great half-forward type and will be good for them.
So do I. Obviously, they had a few trades as well, and the trade week was pretty busy. Knights has come from Adelaide, which is a pretty big one. Chaplin from Port as well, and Aaron Edwards from North Melbourne.
Just more mature recruits, isn't it? And look, Aaron Edwards, for mine, will slot into that forward line and just accommodate Jack Riewoldt perfectly. To be honest,
well, he's a great leading forward, and I think
can take a good mark
with Jack. They can be really dangerous. They clear the 50 out for him and let him go to work.
Yep. There's going to be so dangerous this year. Troy Chaplin's the key one for me. I mean, Chris Knights as well, great player, has had a wretched run with injuries and the like. But look, it's a perfect move for him to come to Richmond, to come to Melbourne. But Troy Chaplin, they needed that centre half back, full back role filled, and they've done it.
They certainly have. The only out of note, really, Angus Graham has gone to Adelaide as well, so no loss. That's I think Oren Stephenson's probably better than Angus Graham anyway.
Only older, but yeah, I mean, you know, Oren Stephenson's still got a few good years left in him. So, look, Angus Graham ran his race, as we've gone over with it.
Well, he's not going to make it.
Nah.
Not going to make it. But we move into a couple of issues. As you just touched on, their draft strategy, these older guys that they've just brought in, you said that they think they're on the verge. Is that how you feel?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if a club, as I said, if a club gets in mature age recruits, they think they're ready. Because a club down the bottom is not going to get in these mid-age recruits, you know, if they're trying to go up the table, because they don't have the foundation for that to be built on, so to speak. They're probably not as confident in things. But look, as I said, they wouldn't clog up their list with 26, 27, 28-year-old guys if they weren't ready. What do you think?
Well, there's two things I think here, and I'm not 100% sure where I sit.
Yeah.
We've seen in the past, I guess the most recent and notable one was where Brisbane and Michael Voss thought they were close.
Yeah.
And he brought in a lot of senior guys, a very, very similar situation to this.
Yeah.
And that put them back 5 years in their development. Not 5 years, 3 years certainly in their development.
Yeah.
And so there's that school of thought. But also, there's the other one where Richmond have been down the bottom for so long. They've been just chucking young draft picks into the system now for so long. And they haven't had that veteran leadership to guide them and to help them and to take, a lot of the brunt for them on the field and that type of thing. I think if you're going to chuck all these kids in, you need leaders there and you need senior guys who can handle the pressure on the big stage, take the hits for them, and just sort of shield them into it a tad. So yeah. I think it's not the worst idea to bring in all these senior guys from that perspective. But I can see, on the other hand, if it all goes awry, it could put them back a tad.
Well, yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, it's always risky getting in older guys. But look, I think, looking at the list and stuff, they're in a far better position to do it than Brisbane were.
Yeah.
I still, to this day, cannot understand why Brisbane did that. Yeah, they weren't anywhere near it for mine, but that's just my opinion. But on Richmond, yeah, I love what you said about nurturing the younger guys. For mine, they've done it in both cases. They've done it because they think they were close, and they've done it because of leadership as well. And when they're going to be pushing into the finals, which they want to do,
well,
if they get there, they're going to need mature guys in the finals.
That's the thing, isn't it? The F word, finals. Yes or no?
Richmond fans, I unfortunately think it's still a no.
Denied. You do?
Yes.
We have a look at the pre-season here.
Yeah.
Some interesting things going on there, but it's these pre-seasons. Do you think they set you up for finals, or they set you up for the middle of the year, or is it just important to get a solid pre-season on the belt for both? In terms of, do you think this pre-season training is being determined by where they're going to be in September, or they will be focusing on, we got to get the first few, or is it an all-encompassing type
They've
thing?
got to be training as though they're going to make September.
Yep.
I think I know that's their goal. That's the club's goal. That's the supporters, the players' goal. It is, a bit of a thing. I don't think they're in the same boat as Carlton in the sense that, they're not going to be top four, but there's no more excuses in terms of making finals. This is it. Again, they've got their best list that they've had in a long time.
Yep.
A long time. And, I'm not saying they can't make finals. I just don't think they will. But, yeah, come the end of the year, they're ninth. There's no more, we just need this. It's not good enough.
Well, not even facilities, because through the Fighting Tiger Fund, obviously, the refurbishment of Punt Road there is 100% done, as you saw. So that's looking good. Their list is looking good. Everything in tip-top shape. This should be a real run at it.
Yeah. Oh, well, it should be. But I just can't sneak them in. Where do you see them?
Well, I think it's a shame for them that there's so many good teams at the moment.
They're in it at a bad time.
They are. I see them probably similar to North, but just a tiny bit further back for mine.
Yeah.
I have North just to...
I can't see them being better than sides like Essendon, and Fremantle and stuff like that. They're not a better side than those guys.
No.
But funny things happen in a year, Joey, and I mean the experts don't get it right the same as we might and probably won't always get it right. So anything can happen. But we have you guys outside. But look, they'll still be dangerous this year.
Speaking of getting it right, let's have a look at our best 22, which we think we've got right.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about the people at home. Hopefully you agree. If not, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
But our 22, from the back line, Grimes, Chappell, who's been brought in from Port, and Newman in pocket.
Yeah, well, Chris Newman obviously relinquished the captaincy.
Yep.
I think it was the right time to do it. He would have been nurturing Trent Conchin and Cotchin would have been getting responsibility of some sort at training and all that sort of stuff.
Well, he's a natural
leader. Yeah. So look, Chris Newman though, don't for a second think he won't be having a big input in huddles and all that sort of stuff. He's a fantastic player. Dylan Grimes there, I liked him in what he's done so far. And Troy Chaplin, of course, the key for mine. This is the half-back line there, Joe?
Yep, obviously we've got Hooley on a half-back flank, Rance and Morris as well. What are your thoughts there?
Loved Andrew. Andrew. That might be his brother. Alex Rance's year last year. Really developed into a good player, and now that Chaplin comes in, he gets to not get the big boy all the time, which is I'm sure he'll be a bit more happy about. But I think he loves a challenge as well, Alex Rance. So look, he's a good player. Stephen Morris, hard as a cat's head. He's really goes about it the way you want all your defenders to go about it. And Basher Hooley there as well. I know you like him.
I certainly do. He's come on, and I think he'll continue to improve. Obviously, he left the Bombers a couple of years ago now. But look, he's the best 22 player now and can hold his own against any player in the AFL.
Yep, for sure. He's a really damaging kick of the footy as well. Big left footer. So, look, he's good for them.
And a guy who can get a lot of touches on the wing, we've got Sean Grigg, Trent Cotchin, who you touched on in the middle there, starting, and Reece Conker out on the other flank.
Yeah, well, look, Sean Grigg, again, we've said this a lot today. A lot of eyebrows were raised when Richmond traded for him, but, gee, hasn't that worked out well? Collins for Griggy.
Yeah.
I think it was at the time.
Fantastic.
So Richmond are laughing all the way to the bank and back again with that one because he was fantastic for them last year, and I didn't think he was the sort of player in the sense that he played last year. He really surprised me. I never really rated him that highly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he certainly did come on, that's for sure. And I think he's moved into that A-grade type player now.
Yeah,
for mine.
He brings him some good polish on the wing there. Trent Cotchin, well, talk about A-grade. He's right up there. He's fantastic. And Reece Conker, I'm going to be interested to see how he goes this year.
So am I.
Yeah, they've got big raps on him. Early draft pick.
Yep.
Look, they sort of tinkered with his position a bit last year and stuff, and I think he'll be a good player for them.
He can sit on a wing, I think, and I think he needs to establish himself there. For mine, it's get on a wing, establish yourself there, and then push to move into the midfield later, down the track.
Yeah, for sure. Just a half forward line there. Chrissy Knights, as we've said, we love him. Comes over from Adelaide. Will slip straight in there perfectly. Ty Vickery. Everyone's jury's still out on him. We think he's a good player. We don't think he's a ruckman at all. He's definitely a forward that can pinch occasionally in the ruck.
Yeah.
And Ricky Pettard is there, another new boy who we've slipped straight in.
Well, you think he'll have an impact this
I
year
think he'll be fantastic. Yeah. I think it's, aside from Chaplin, I think he's their best pickup. He's had a few injury problems over the last couple of years. Nearly passed away, unfortunately, with that punctured lung a few years ago. But look, he's so dangerous. I remember a game against when he was at Melbourne where he kicked 4 against Collingwood in round 2. Yep. I think was 2011.
I think it was.
Was it? Yeah. Or might have been their premiership year, either or. But he was fantastic there and nearly won them the game. But just the full forward line. Robbie Nahas keeps improving. A little dynamo down there.
So dangerous.
So much forward pressure as well that he puts on. It's so critical. Jackie Rewalt, Coleman medalist.
What more can you say?
Yeah.
Integral to their forward line, those two in particular. But Aaron Edwards, I think, will slot into the forward pocket there as well and provide another option, a leading option. As you said, a good mark and a good leading option.
And a big kick. Big straight kick for goal. So if he gets the opportunities, he'll do well for you.
Obviously, in the ruck, Marriage, a lovely year last year. Oh. Sensational year.
Yeah.
Can't talk highly enough of him.
He was... I'm trying to think of a word better than outstanding because that's what he was.
First half of the year, best ruckman in the league?
Easy.
Yep.
Easy. Look, I think what caught up with him was the fact that it was probably the first year where he's been standalone first ruck option.
Yep.
I mean, he had cracks at Adelaide, but I think he was sort of in and out of the side a little bit. But now at Richmond, he's had another pre-season, hardened the body up a bit more than it already is, which is hard to do because he's a big man. But look, he'll be great this year.
And Deledio, who we know all about Deledio, absolute superstar, stalwart for the heart and soul of the club, Deledio. And Martin as the other midfielder there. Needs to take the next step?
Yes. Yes, definitely. He needs to sort out... what's the word?
His issues?
Yeah, his issues. He's definitely got a few issues. And he's... I'm not 100% now. I'm going to get slaughtered for this. I am not 100% committed that he does everything he can for the team. I think he's a bit one way. That's a big.
It is a
That's a big punch to give him, but I think he could do a bit more on the defensive side.
Well, he's one of those guys who's got all the tools. Yeah. He's got everything that you need to become one of those really elite players, but he hasn't put it together. Obviously, it doesn't help with some of the off-field issues he's had. And his footy smarts for mine are sensational. They're absolutely
he's a great player. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
But he's just got to put it all together.
Yeah, exactly.
And we move on to the bench. Foley, Tuck, and Batchelor there making up the interchange.
Shane Tuck, another outstanding year last year. It's amazing to think that Richmond fans wanted him gone all those years ago. They were calling for his head, and now they...
Well, some Richmond fans.
Quite a lot of the ones I know
were
calling for his head. But look, it's funny to think that he's now a cult hero. But look, he's fantastic for them.
They'll be straight off the bench, I'm sure. And the other little Edwards there down in as the sub.
Yeah.
Shane. And the emergencies, Ellis, Oren Stephenson as the backup ruck option, and Vlas Dillon will probably get his chance as well. But from the Tigers, we move on to a team who made the grand final, couldn't get the job done, the Hawthorn Hawks.
Well, I think Hawthorn, they are just a fantastic machine. I still don't know how they didn't win the flag last year. I don't know, they were just travelling so well. And as often can happen, I suppose it was payback in terms of how they, I suppose you could say nearly, I wouldn't say Sydney stole it by any means, but they weren't expected to win the same as Hawthorn weren't expected to beat Geelong back in that grand final. So look, I mean, Hawthorn are going to be right up there again. Don't you worry about that. But look, last year, of course, they finished first. 17 wins, 5 losses, extremely solid. In the qualifying final, they've defeated Collingwood by 38 points. Collingwood were very lucky that wasn't 70. 70 plus. They absolutely destroyed Collingwood that night. The prelim final, if you're watching our Adelaide show, they were actually very lucky to get over Adelaide. Adelaide served up one hell of a fight to them.
Sure did.
That Hawthorn probably weren't even expecting.
No.
But look, they got over that, and then they lost in the big dance to Sydney by 10 points, which was incredibly disappointing for mine.
It was a great game.
It was a fantastic game. But what do you think? Do you think they should have won?
It's easy. On the day, I don't think they should have won. Although they had the chances. Don't get me wrong. That was an up and down game.
Sorry, I don't mean like on gameplay. I mean like before the game started. I mean they couldn't have probably been in a better spot, really.
Well, they were everyone's tipped, unless you were a Sydney supporter, weren't they? So they were expected to win. But it's never like that. On the day,
whichever finals do funny things.
Well, every game does funny things. That's why we love the game of AFL. But look, they have, for mine, and we'll go into it a bit later. I know you think they're a machine, and I probably hasn't finishing top of the ladder, so don't get me wrong. But their top echelon of players are out of this world. Your Buddy Franklins and your Sam Mitchells and your Sewell is an amazing player as well, and Rioli, and we could go on all day about the top end. But their bottom end is pretty solid as well. But I just don't know sometimes about Hawthorn. And it's not always, they do okay on the big stage, but just sometimes things just don't go right. And I can't put my finger on what it is, But the only thing I can think is that the mentality at Hawthorn, and I know this is very harsh, and I'm going to get creamed for this, but the mentality at Hawthorn, for mine, isn't 100%.
In terms of...
Well, I don't think that they're mentally prepared to become the absolute powerhouse.
Geelong? The next sort of Geelong thing?
I don't think they will become the next Geelong or the Brisbane or whatever team you want to put in there. Dynasty. I don't think they have the mental capacity to fulfill it.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. Are you talking about their top players there, or their...
No. I think their top players are sensational, but I don't think, as in football terms, but I don't think they've got the leadership capacity to impart that. Well, I mean, let's look back at Brisbane first. I mean, Michael Voss and co. The
Blacks,
fabulous four.
Scots,
you could run through 22 of their guys almost and say,
Pike,
serious leaders, serious, hardly polished. They're comfortable, they know their role, they help out their teammates, everything along those lines. Yeah. Geelong, same sort of thing. Only one or two players who messed up off field, and not so much off field, but in the trenches. You could count on almost all of them, and certainly their leaders at the time. Your Gary Ablett, who I know was young, but still very much a leader.
Yeah.
Chappie, Lingy, these type of guys.
Mm.
You look at Hawthorn, and it's just I mean, we can talk about Hodge is probably the exception.
Sam Mitchell,
but Mitchell, Franklin, the guys that I mentioned, they're big guys.
Yeah.
In the trenches, I'm not sold on it.
I'll disagree with you on Mitchell. I think Sam Mitchell's a great leader. But on the Buddy Franklin one, especially when things don't go his way, I think he can be really... I mean, of course, you'd still want him on your team, but he gives away some really, really poor free kicks at times, stupid free kicks. And I mean, they're lucky in the sense that it didn't cost them last year because they played some terrific footy, but I see what you mean, yeah. Tight final series... he could have a brain explosion, buddy.
Well,
and
it's not
he gives away 50s, I know what you mean.
It's not just him, it's the rest of the team as well. Like, don't get me wrong, they've won a flag, this sort of group, but yeah, I mean, I've indulged in that probably far too much, and you can't knock them. I still probably have them finishing the ladder on top of the year, but as I said, they're in the trenches. I'm not sold on it, again.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. We'll just get up some of their... off-season pickup work. I can't get the word out. They're
drafting.
They're drafting. That's it. So this the national draft first. Pretty quiet. I mean, you expect that. They don't have a lot of picks and all that sort of stuff, and they traded a couple away.
Yeah.
Of course, they picked 28 there. Tim O'Brien from Glenelg. Your first pick's always going to be the player who's available.
Best available.
Yeah, best available. And to be honest, I don't know a great deal about Tim O'Brien, but they must have him in pretty high stead to pick him there. And pick 70, they've obviously redrafted Michael Osborne as well, which you're not too happy about.
Lucky.
Yeah.
I don't hate Hawthorn at all. I'm a big fan of the Hawthorn Footy Club, so don't absolutely go to town on me here. But Michael Osborne, for mine, is not up to standard anymore, if he ever was. I mean, he's had these good games in the past, but for mine, extremely lucky. I don't know who he's seeing at the moment, if he's single or if he's maybe the daughters of one of the directors. I don't know. I'm honestly not aware, but that's the only thing that comes to mind when I think of that.
Yeah.
So
no, fair enough. We swing into their work in the rookie draft, of course. Again, not much. But that's the interesting one there. Jonathan Segler from the Pies they've picked up. Everyone thought he was going to have a really good career at Collingwood, and it just never worked out, with obviously them picking up Brodie Grundy in the off-season, and just the way they play their rucks, he got let out the door.
Well, he's very skinny. But other than that, he looks like he had the skills, and obviously he was set for big things at Collingwood, which didn't work out, as you said. Hawthorn, as we know, sort of lied on in the ruck department. I don't think Roughhead should be rucking for big stretches at all for mine. But
neither, and I cannot believe Dave Hale as a starting ruckman.
No.
Still. But, I mean, credit to him.
Yeah.
He made a fool out of me last year and played incredibly well.
Ideally, Segler gets a crack at starting at some point. Hopefully not with injuries, but they come. So at some point, I'm sure Segler may even get a crack at senior level this year.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got Max Bailey there as well,
which
will be interesting to keep an eye on. But, gee, you wouldn't have a lot of confidence in his knees.
No.
They're pretty shot. And just a bit of their trade work, which is where the Hawks got to business. Matt Spanger's an interesting one. He played a few good games for the Swans and Eagles over the stretch. He's not the most consistent, though, but you like him.
Matty Spanger, one of the crowd favourites.
One of the great last names as well that the commentators love to say.
Well, Matty Spanger.
Spanger!
That's enough.
Yeah.
We move on.
But the big one, seriously, Joey, Brian Lake. I am absolutely amazed more clubs didn't try and pry him off the Bulldogs' hands. What do you think?
I am flummoxed as well.
Yeah.
It is Brian Lake is a premier defender, a really solid fullback, and he is going to absolutely fit into this Hawthorn team like a glove.
I just cannot, and I know I've already said it, I just said it 10 seconds, I cannot believe more clubs did not go after him. It's almost like there were only two teams in the league, Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn.
Well, that's right. I understand why he left the Bulldogs, and I understand why the Bulldogs let him go.
Yeah.
But he's so... I mean...
How doesn't he have currency at any other club?
Well,
contending for a premiership, because that's the only place he would have gone.
The only thing is about his... It's about his off-field persona as well, and, you know, he's not the most personable guy. I know that for a fact, but you know, some of his off-field work, he's a big pinball machine-loving man. He loves his pinball.
Well, tell everyone this story. Well, everyone wouldn't have heard this.
Well, you
told me the other day, and I'm not sure if I believe it.
No, it's 100% true. His house is full of pinball machines, and all he does is he goes home and he plays pinball all the time. He loves his pinball, Brian Lake. So he's not... Far be it from me to cast aspersions over people's mental state of mind, but there's something it's not 100% on for mine. That's as nice as we can put it, so we move on quickly, but he's a great footballer. We can't knock him there.
But on his football, what a pickup.
Yeah,
to strengthen this team already. And the big person that influences... well, actually, I'll leave that for the best 22.
Yep.
But we'll just move on to the outs. Quite a few, actually, of note. Chance Bateman and Cam Bruce retired.
Yep.
What do you think there?
Changa's time was up. Provided many years good service for Hawthorn, and no one begrudges him calling quits on what was a really rock-solid career.
Yeah, Cam Bruce had a pretty good career as well with Melbourne, but never got off the ground at Hawthorn. Clinton Young traded to the Pies. I think that's going to be quite a big loss for them. You're not in the same boat, though.
No, won't help Hawthorn any, not at all. But a stupid move from Young. I wouldn't have left Hawthorn to go to Collingwood.
Well, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, more coin would probably be the offer. And I mean, you can't really comment on that unless you're in that position yourself.
True.
But I mean, look, at least he's gone to a club that, well, in their minds are still competing, and in a lot of fans' minds are still, you know, up there with at least a chance.
Well, I think,
so I mean, he's moved on. Tom Murphy's ended up at the Gold Coast.
Well, that's the hard luck story, isn't it? Tom Murphy's missed out on 2 grand finals now, and obviously last year was one of them. He had to move on for his own sanity, but as all the Hawks fans out there will know, he's such a great leader, and I think all the Hawks fans will wish him the best. It's not one of those things where they'll be bitter about him leaving. I think they'll understand, and the club will understand as well. And Tom Murphy will go up to the Gold Coast and do fantastic things, I'm sure. Yeah,
no, definitely. And the other one there's Steve Gillum as well to GWS.
Yeah, he'll play. He'll start for GWS, I think. And
who we did say.
Yeah, and with Lake coming in, and obviously Gibson as well.
And Sean Makers. Yep. So there's no room for him.
No, that's right.
No, and Stratton as well is down there. So as it works out, things just don't as it happens, things just don't work out.
What a great position for Hawthorn to be in, though, just to be recycling these type of guys.
Oh, yeah.
Such a strong backline at the moment. Gee whiz. Such a strong list altogether.
Well, I mean, exactly. They're a great side, and we'll just get up some of their pre-season stuff now while we keep discussing. But look, for mine, can they or will they win the premiership? I'm putting it out there. Straight question right now. Will they win the premiership?
Well, a bit of a look at their circuit work here. Will they win the premiership? Their pre-season's been good by all reports, but you know, who knows with that. They will finish top. They will be in the preliminary final. No, they won't win the premiership.
No, they won't.
No.
Wow. Yeah, well, I'm going to be a fence man here and not really comment. I'm not sure if they can. I can't. I just think they've got.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
They are in the box seat though. Let's not get that wrong.
Box seat. Oh yeah. Look, if I got pushed against the wall and I had to say, I'd probably say Hawthorn.
Yep.
At this stage, but as we've said before, a lot of funny things happen in the football season. So, so you've got them on top. Sorry, did you say?
They'll probably finish on top regular season.
Yeah, I've got them finishing top.
And just with that, but as what I mentioned earlier about their mental state, you know, adding a leader in Brian Lake as well on top of this, what I've already touched on. When something happens over a period of time and continues to happen, it just becomes one of those things where you can't... Like, we look at the Hawthorn Geelong, and Geelong, you know, Geelong said we'll never lose to them again, and it just continued to happen, and then something just... I won't say magical, but something sort of... Well, no, let's go with magical. Something sort of magical just happens, and, you know, this is magic in a bad sort of way. I think Hawthorn they're going to keep falling down when they're getting so close. I think it's just going to be something, a trend that will continue.
I think every game since that 08 grand final, I've tipped Hawthorn to beat Geelong. And every time, they just can't do it.
No.
It's ridiculous. Even when they were in the prime position last year to finally beat Geelong, Tommy Hawkins has kicked that goal after the siren to beat them. So... Look,
heartbreaking.
This for them. I hope they stay away for their sake. Stay away from Geelong. They'll be good.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. We'll see.
But yeah, I mean, you know, that's an interesting one. Just another one. Alistair Clarkson. How do you see him as a coach?
Not a great human being, firsthand. I've found, but as a coach, seems to get well. He's got the track record, he's got the results, so you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him, just harping on this point, I'd like to see him mentally improve his team, but on the field, and no, he is a great coach.
Are we going to see him mellow out a bit now that Jeffrey Kennett's well out of the picture?
No, I think it'll be worse.
He'll be worse.
I think it'll be worse.
Yeah?
I think he's an angry man.
Well, we only have to ask the MCG coach's box wall about that one. There's probably still a great big hole in it. But, yeah, look, I think he's a pretty good coach. I mean, you can't argue with his record. Gets the best out of his team. He's got a very good team at that. But, yeah, I mean... As we've said, they're going to be up there, and the reason we've both Joey and I have picked them to finish on top is because of this best 22 that we're going to just chuck up right now.
Yep.
And so yeah, remember this is our best 22.
Yep, it is, and it's what we think. As we said, we think we're the best 22. What we'd like running out on grand final day, all things being equal. From the back line, Schoenmakers, obviously you touched on. Brian Lake, we've spoken about. And Brent Guerra, who was a bit of a hard luck story last year.
Yeah, I mean, Brent Guerra, who I thought he was gone before he came to Hawthorn.
So did I.
Since he's come to Hawthorn, he has been absolutely fantastic for them.
Yep.
Gives them great drive out of that back half, and he's got a few hamstring problems and everything, which is... You know, a bit worrying because you never want to have hamstring problems. But look, if he can get that sorted out, he'll just continue to be great for them. Brian Lake, we touched on him and how good he is.
Yep.
But I think the bloke that's going to most benefit from that is Ryan Schoenmakers.
Yeah, and because that means Lake and Gibson, they'll go 1 and 2 with the big boys, and then Schoenmakers will be able to, he'll drop down and take a lesser defender, and that'll mean you can be more effective going forward as well.
Oh, well, I mean, definitely. I mean, Schoenmakers, for mine, he's not a great defender, to be honest. He got murdered by Travis Cloke in that qualifying final, and I think he got touched up by Tippett and Walker in the prelim as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I only saw the qualifying, so let's speak about that.
Yeah.
He got bullied by Travis Cloke, and I mean, it's not hard to see because Cloke's a mountain and Schoenmakers is a stick still. Yeah. On comparison. So look, but I mean, I think that move's going to benefit him heaps. Their half-back line, Birchall, Gibson and Burgoyne. Oh, I love it personally.
So do I. Gibson, underrated still in some circles, but he is a serious defender who can play.
Yeah.
But Birchall, he'll be with those lockdown defenders now. He's going to be free as a bird to continue his run and drive off the half-back line. And it's so damaging again.
Him and Guerra are so dangerous off that back half, and I mean, they'll be hard to stop. Centre line, Isaac Smith, not as good a year last year as his first, but I mean, still very productive. I know they love him down there. Sam Mitchell in the middle. He's been a great player for a long time. And Liam Shields.
Yeah, Mitchell, obviously, I didn't really mean to knock him that much before. He is a great, serious player as well. A-grade midfielder, but I know Shields is one of your favourites, Tim.
Oh, look, I mean, he's not a big lad by any means. He's got a good footy brain for mine. He's uses his pace well. He's got good skills and can be damaging on the scoreboard and both leading his team into attack.
He can. So we move on to the half-forward line. Lukey Bruce, who is a bit of a crowd favourite there with the Bruce calls. Buddy Franklin, well, nothing needs to be said about him.
Nothing at all.
A-grade. Cyril Rioli in the same vein. Enough media have talked about him and how good those guys are, but the best half-forward line in the league.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could put anyone there instead of Bruce. You could put Gunston up there. You could put... Jordan Lewis if he wasn't in the midfield, whatever. But I mean, they've got so many options. And Bruce kicks a lot of goals as well.
He does.
He's so dangerous there.
Well, it's easy when you got the big guys in Buddy and Roughhead taking a couple of the best defenders.
Yeah, which is why we just moved down the full forward line. Why guys like Gunston and Brewis kick a lot of goals for Hawthorn because so much attention goes to Buddy Franklin. These blokes like Gunston and stuff slip out the back. And he was great last year coming over from Adelaide.
He was. Yeah. He was really good. Roughhead, as you said, takes the number 1 or 2 defender, depending if he's in the ruck or wherever he's playing. But Puopolo provides such great forward pressure. And he doesn't need to be that much of a damaging goal scorer or mark taker. The pressure alone keeps him in there. He
only needs 3 kicks a week. He doesn't need any more than that. The main reason he's in that team... Tackles in the forward 50. And, he does his job to perfection.
Yep.
I mean, he doesn't even have to tackle them. He just harasses.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the big thing. Following line there. David Hale, who, well, I'm still not completely sold on. But
good year, though.
Well, yeah, he had a fantastic year. But... I just can't believe he had a good a year as he did have. But Brad Sewell, champion, absolutely love him. And Jordan Lewis, still, I'm not convinced he's hit the top of his game.
I got a lot of man love for Jordan Lewis. He's one of those guys, as we saw, he's so hard at it.
I think he can still go more.
Well, where do you see him finishing?
How do you mean?
At the end of Jordan Lewis's career, does he finish as an A+ grade player, elite? All-time great.
I think he can be A+.
Yep.
I don't think I think he's playing... He's still playing good footy, don't get me wrong. I think he's playing unders to what he can play.
I'd love to see him in a team without such superstars around him. I reckon if he went to a team that wasn't surrounded by so many good midfielders, he would stand out like... Well, I won't say that one, but he'll stand out a hell of a lot. And he would be recognised as that, A-grade A-plus player that you talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Interchange line here, you've got Xavier Ellis, Matty Suckling, very unlucky not to be starting, but he gives them such great drive. And Hodgie as well, just looking after him a bit there, but I mean, easily throw him in wherever you want.
That's right, Xavier Ellis there, the Lakes Entrance product, with a bit of a basketball background. He's been in and out and injured, and he's been tossed around, it seems, in the system there at Hawthorn, but I think...
Number 2 draft pick.
I know.
It slips under a lot of people's guards, that.
It certainly does, but I think, given a decent run without injury and a decent starting spot and a serious structure and role, not just to be out of flow, the number 3 pick, Xavier Ellis,
number 3 pick, yeah.
Can seriously have improve his game to that A grade level as well. He's got potential still.
Yeah, he can...
His best years are ahead of him.
Yeah, for sure. Shane Savage had a great year last year. Kicks quite a few goals for the sort of player he is as well. And that's why we've got him as our sub. Big impact player. And then the emergencies there, we've got Stratton.
Yep. Who, as we spoke on earlier, you could toss any of those guys into the back line there, but he's down on the depth chart at the moment. And Chaney and Max Bailey as well.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how Max Bailey goes. Won't coming back? I mean, if he can get himself fit, I'll be really interested to see what happens with David Hale, actually.
Yeah, I didn't hate... Well, I did hate it, but in terms of...
So you reckon Hale's...
Well, I don't rate Bailey that highly.
Yeah.
I reckon Hale... Yeah, go with Hale and Roughhead, I suppose, for now.
He gives you so much more going forward, David Hale.
He does.
Yeah, then Max Bailey's a bit of a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Whereas Hale can still contribute down the field as well. And I'm sure, I might get out there quickly. I'm sure a lot of Hawthorn fans out there are questioning, but you said that all things being equal, this is our best team. Well, Brendan Whitecross, don't worry, we haven't forgot him. But we're going on the logic that he did his knee in the finals last year against Collingwood, I think.
I think so,
it was against Collingwood, yeah. So we're going on the logic that it's... Look, if he gets back, he'll be in our 22. Don't worry about that. But we're going on the logic that probably won't see the best of him this year and he might struggle to get back. But that's just us. I mean, you've seen with Cracker and McCaff from the Pies last year, you can get back pretty quickly. So, look, just a quick word. If he does get back fit, he's straight in our best 22. Don't worry about that.
That's right. But, so, number 1 for them, yes?
Number 1 for the Hawks, yeah, for me.
If you ask me, flag?
If I had to say right now, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that
where's the minimum of a pass mark?
Grand final.
Okay.
Yeah, without a doubt. Anything less than the grand final is a fail. For me, they're ready, as we've said about a lot of teams today, actually. They're ready. What do you think?
Yeah, if they finish outside the top 4, Clarkson will be gone.
Oh, yeah.
If they finish... Well, if they finish in the top 4, it doesn't matter until the prelim. If they lose the prelim... Yeah, there's probably question marks over Clarkson.
Yeah, I'm not entirely... If they made a prelim, I still think they'd hold on to him, but it's a definite fail.
Yeah.
On the year. But, look, with all that, we're done. Another wrap.
Another week down, and closer we edge to the season proper.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's looking forward to it. And I mean, these initial episodes of BST and the AFL, I mean... It's a bit of a grind, of course, because we've got to go through each club and that sort of thing. But once we've done our previews, it won't be as easily to predict this show. We've got a lot of surprises in store for you guys. It's going to be a fun show.
It certainly is fun, surprising, and
laughs.
A very much different structure to what we've got now. But what we really wanted to do with these episodes is to get through each list and to give each club's supporters a sense of what to look forward to this year, and a chance to look back at last year and have a look at the serious side of footy and the list changes, because they are real people. We talk about these guys like they're pawn ships almost, with the delistings and the draft picks and that type of thing. But it's people's livelihood, and they are real people. And we just wanted to have a look at all the changes and all the ramifications for the teams going forward.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I mean, we'll continue to do that. We've still got quite a few to do actually. So I mean, we look forward to that. There'll be 4 or 5 more next week.
5 more next week. That's right.
5 next week. Which look, we'll cover exactly the same things. Go in depth about your team's chances if your team hasn't been yet. And look, basically, from me, Tim Blacker, and Joey Kane here, it's been an absolute pleasure again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to tell all your friends, please, because we are committed to really doing something special this year with this show. We're
going to be here every week. We lock us in for every week. So we'd love for you to make us part of your life, part of your viewing. So, from Tim and myself, all I can say is don't forget, BST Weekly.